Welcome to Lecture 1 on Why Strategy Matters. Today, we explore why even the most skillful military operations can fail without strategic thinking. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor was a military masterpiece, but strategically, it was a catastrophic mistake. Brilliant execution doesn't save a bad strategy. War involves a great deal of chance. Success comes from developing skills that improve the odds, and that key skill is strategic analysis. Strategic analysis means thinking through possible consequences, objectively weighing the risks and rewards before acting. We sharpen strategic skills by studying timeless works like The Art of War by Sun Tzu and On War by Clausewitz. These theories are tested against history and modern challenges. These classic thinkers, Clausewitz, Sun Tzu, Thucydides, continue to guide today's strategic minds. U.S. leaders like Donald Rumsfeld and Paul Wolfowitz often referred to these masters of war when making decisions in the 21st century. The word strategy comes from strategos, the title of generals in ancient Athens. These generals were also politicians because war is political at its core. A general must think politically. War is not an end in itself. It's a tool to achieve political objectives. That's why strategy is the process of turning political goals into military action. It links what we want to what we do. Good strategy isn't static. It needs constant evaluation and adaptation because the enemy always gets a vote. Most military officers spend their careers focused on tactics and operations. Few are trained to think strategically, yet that's where decisions matter most. Clausewitz noted this problem in the 1800s. Skills that make a good junior officer can actually damage strategic thinking. Repetition and doctrine are useful, but strategy lives in uncertainty. German generals in both world wars confused tactical brilliance with strategic wisdom. They knew warfare's science, but not its art. Japan at Pearl Harbor and the U.S. in Vietnam both fell into this trap. Great tactics, poor strategy. To understand the difference between strategic and operational thinking, let's compare two World War II icons, George Patton and Dwight Eisenhower. Patton had a brilliant gift for battle. His genius lived in the operational realm, commanding troops, winning campaigns, and executing plans. Eisenhower, on the other hand, wasn't known for battlefield heroism. His genius was strategic, managing personalities, priorities, and politics within the Allied coalition. If the roles had been reversed, Patton in charge of overall strategy and Eisenhower leading battles, the outcome of the Allied campaign could have been very different and likely worse. Tactics and operations win battles. Strategy wins wars. As we saw in Vietnam, success on the battlefield doesn't guarantee overall victory. Strategy emerges from the constant interaction between political and military leaders, what we call the civil-military nexus. This relationship isn't easy. Generals can be too focused on tactics. Politicians can be too hands-off or intimidated to weigh in strategically. Athenians avoided this problem. Their generals were also politicians. They instinctively linked war to politics. In the U.S., we often separate the two too much. In America, political leaders must actively help shape and adapt strategy, not just authorize war and step back. Did civilian meddling lose the Vietnam War? In fact, the opposite is true. Civilians didn't assert themselves enough where it mattered most: strategic direction. Let's look at Franklin Roosevelt. In 1942, he overruled his top general George Marshall to launch Operation Torch in North Africa. Marshall believed it was a distraction from invading France and feared the diversion of resources. His concerns were valid tactically and operationally. But Roosevelt saw the bigger picture, supporting the British, earning Soviet trust, keeping American morale high, and preparing an untested army for greater challenges. Strategy isn't just turning goals into action. It's also the art of seizing unexpected opportunities and aligning them with long-term political objectives. At its core, any war's nature is defined by its political purpose. Strategy must always be aligned with those objectives, whether it's seizing territory or toppling a regime. Great strategic theory recognizes three key truths. War is unpredictable, it serves a political purpose, and the military is a tool to serve policy. There's no formula that guarantees success. Beware of any theory claiming to be a one-size-fits-all guide to victory in war. Strategic theory also involves net assessment, evaluating the strengths, weaknesses, and intangible factors like leadership or society, not just counting weapons. Strategic theory teaches us valuable lessons about leadership. Different wars need different leaders, just like World War II required FDR, Marshall, Eisenhower, and Patton at different levels. War should not just end the fighting, but also secure a lasting positive political outcome for the victor. Any theory must be grounded in history. Understanding the context of past wars helps us apply strategic concepts to modern challenges. Some of the greatest strategic thinkers came from the vanquished. Thucydides, Clausewitz, and Mao each analyzed war deeply, even after their own defeats. We judge their greatness by the depth of their analysis, not military success. Their ideas continue to shape how we think about strategy. As we explore the classics of strategy, we'll look at real-world examples like Sun Tzu's espionage and the intelligence triumph of Operation Fortitude. We'll sail through naval theory with Mahan and Corbett, studying historic battles like Trafalgar and Leyte Gulf to understand strategic principles at sea. Mao's insights on revolutionary warfare can be seen in historical cases like China, Vietnam, and even modern insurgent movements like Al-Qaeda. Strategic thought has evolved alongside technological changes like the gunpowder revolution and the rise of air power, reshaping the landscape of war. Though warfare changes, the greatest strategic theories remain timeless. They focus on the human contest of wills within the larger machinery of war.